1. I ended up hugging the fake young master. Samuel usually seems cold and distant, but right now he's anything but. He wasn't holding back at all, letting himself go completely. To me, this empty-headed fool with nothing but a pretty face, the real heir to the Gu family. Someone everyone assumed he'd hate like poison. Samuel held me close and asked again in a low voice, "Speak up. Do you want me to open the door?" I gave it my best tough guy tone. "Go ahead, if you're ready to be kicked out of this house." Samuel has gotten so much more from the Gu family than I ever have. In every way, it's him who's at a disadvantage. As for face, what's that? Just trash. Samuel let out a low, mocking laugh. Being on the streets with you sounds kind of fun. It was all going to hell. Completely out of control. Samuel wasn't anything like how he'd been described in the original story. As for the original owner, even their core had been replaced by me. An outsider soul from another world. The sworn enemies who were supposed to never stop fighting now couldn't keep their hands off each other. Was this even reasonable? Samuel's deep, magnetic voice drifted over. "Ezra, look at me. Don't zone out." I lifted my gaze to him, dazed and confused, almost on instinct asking again, "Have we met before?" The timing of my arrival couldn't have been worse. It happened just a second before the original heir was about to walk through the door for the family reunion. I didn't even have time to react. I was forced to absorb every single detail of the original heir's story from the book. The original heir was the long-lost true young master of the Gu family. Once he was found, they discovered that the family had already raised a fake heir who'd taken over his place. The imposter was exceptionally capable and treated by the Gu family as their rightful successor, inheriting everything that should have belonged to the real heir. Standing beside Samuel, the original heir now seemed like nothing more than a pretty but empty ornament. As a result, the original heir's mind began to twist, constantly clashing with Samuel and even betraying crucial secrets of the Gu group to their rivals. In the end, the truth came out. The original heir was cast out of the Gu family and died alone far from home. In the original host's memory, Samuel was his lifelong enemy. But to Samuel, the original host was just a speck of sand that couldn't stir up any waves in his leading man's journey. I looked up and met the cold, scrutinizing eyes of the Gu family parents. They dug deep into the original host's past fights, dropping out of school, even jail time, so they weren't at all pleased with this son who didn't measure up. In elite families, blood ties matter most and least. Ugh. What a nuisance. What's with these looks? Not like I wanted to come here in the first place. I gave a faint smirk, shooting back a glare full of spite. What's so great about this fancy family? Who even cares? I turned to walk away, but accidentally crashed into a solid chest. The scent of cold wood flooded my senses. By the time I snapped back to awareness, my wrist was already firmly gripped. Samuel gave no expression, his voice flat as he asked, "Where are you going?" A warm pressure kept building at my wrist. I stared at the face in front of me, stunned for a moment, then blurted out, "Have we met before?" Samuel's pupils flickered slightly. He studied me closely for a few seconds before saying, "I'm afraid not. We're from completely different worlds." Why would I even think that? What a stupid thing to say. Finally clicked. I pulled free from his grip, straightened my posture, and said, "Sorry. I got the wrong guy. Clearly you don't want me here. I'll leave for good." The original owner had no love from either parent. People in the circle also avoided the original owner because of Samuel. No one around liked him. Truly a person everyone despises. Thinking about how miserable the original owner's end was. Staying here would be a dead end. I turned sideways to leave, but Samuel stood right in front of me, firm and unyielding. "Ezra, the Gu family isn't a place you can just drop by or walk away from whenever you want. Your existence has already been exposed. We've contacted the media. Your identity will be made public in a few days. You'll have to stay and cooperate." That was strange. We're about the same age. Yet Samuel sounded like he was lecturing me. I let out a dry laugh, my tone cool. "Do I really have to?" Samuel didn't seem upset at all. He whispered, "If you want to sleep on the streets, go ahead and try stepping out the front door." I snapped my head up, glaring at him. The grand hall fell completely silent. The Gu family's parents had already silently accepted the idea. Well done. I puffed out my cheeks, almost gritting my teeth. "Fine. I'll cooperate. I'll play along." Samuel studied me for a long moment, then said with certainty, "Never seen someone like you." Honestly, Samuel was perfect in every way. exactly my type. What was even weirder was how perfectly this body fit me. Like it was made for me. Sometimes I even think my previous life was just a dream, like the story of a butterfly in a dream. Everything right before me. This world is what feels real to me. Ezra. Even the name is the same. Damn. I let out a sly smirk laced with provocation. Out there, they're actually drumming and gongs for you, young Master Samuel. What if those two find out you've been hanging around me? Would it drive them crazy? I don't know about anything else, but my hard situation in the Gu family is real enough. Just blowing off some steam, letting off a little pressure. It feels good. Samuel lifted his eyelids with that indifferent look. I don't know. Want to give it a shot? I rolled my eyes and said, Samuel, are you out of your mind? Footsteps were drawing near, and I went rigid with nerves, my nails digging deep into Samuel's arm. Samuel gave a small smile, his eyes gleaming like obsidian. Don't worry. A few seconds later, someone knocked on the wooden door. The faint tremble ran through the panel and pressed against my back. Shitong, why is there so much noise changing clothes? Did something happen? Samuel tilted his head up and let out a barely audible huff. Nothing serious. Just a stray cat got in and scratched me. Henry paused, then snapped to attention. Oh, right. The banquet's about to start. Have you seen Ezra? Samuel blinked. Ezra said he had something to take care of outside. He'll be back before the banquet starts. Henry let out a cold chuckle. Can't leave him alone for a second, can we? You're the older brother. Teach him a thing or two. Samuel smiled in reply. Dad, don't talk like that about Ezra. He's really responsible. Sensible? I wasn't happy, muttering to myself. Samuel, you're good at pretending. The Gu family dynamics were even more complicated than I'd imagined. I needed to leave as soon as possible, even if I never found a way back to my original world. I couldn't repeat the original owner's mistakes. I arrived 10 minutes after Samuel left. I walked onto the stage with a scowl on my face, standing beside Samuel, head down as I silently listened to Mr. Gu's speech. In the original plan, he would reveal the identity of the previous heir, yet still declare that Samuel was the only inheritor of the Gu family. Mr. Gu narrowed his eyes and smiled warmly as he said, Ezra is the son of a dear friend of mine who passed away. My friend entrusted him to me before vanishing years ago. Only recently have we been reunited. From now on, he's my child in the Gu family. I frowned. No way, this doesn't match what I thought I knew. Why did he become an adopted son? I looked up and met Samuel's smiling eyes, silently forming the words, You're behind this? His smile deepened, but he didn't say a word. The reception ended, and I followed Samuel home. The Gu family's mansion was empty. Mr. and Mrs. Gu were rarely around. We stepped into the bedroom almost at the same time, and Samuel turned to ask, Shower first, you or me? I raised an eyebrow with a smirk. Together. Samuel paused for a second, then glanced me up and down before lifting his chin to say, Well, you really don't hold back. Not at all, after all. He was the one who invited me in first. On my very first night staying there, my room had been on the 3rd floor. I was about to take off my shirt for a shower when Samuel came running to knock on my door. I opened the door, leaning against the frame with one hand, and asked lazily, What do you want? Samuel's eyes darkened for a split second, his voice slightly hoarse. There are 5 tiny cameras in the room and bathroom. If you don't want your naked pictures taken, come with me. A chill ran through me, and I instinctively shrank back. That was close. I quickly stepped out of the room, and he, slightly wary now, asked, Why did you warn me? According to the story, our relationship wasn't that close. He's the main character. I'm barely more than a disposable extra meant to help him level up. Samuel tilted his head slightly, pretending to think for a few seconds before saying with quiet intensity, I don't know why, but I just feel like I want you to last longer. What a lovely wish. I laughed and asked, So where can I actually stay? Samuel surprised me with, My bedroom. I didn't hesitate. I immediately ended up sharing a bed with Samuel. It was strange, but I always found myself wanting to believe in Samuel. If that were true, what about the original owner's memories? By midnight, I still hadn't fallen asleep, but then Samuel's soft breathing started beside me. He shifted in his sleep, and our fingertips accidentally brushed under the blanket. My heart instantly warmed up. A wave of indescribable contentment surged through me. Without thinking, I gently opened his fingers and clasped them tightly tightly in mine. In an instant, my chest was overwhelmed by a thunderous heartbeat. Everything else faded into silence. I turned my head and got a clear look at Samuel's profile. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, a straight nose. It was uncanny. He looked exactly like the ideal man I'd imagined in my past life. I really wanted him, more than anything. I just wanted to have him. We stepped out of the bathroom, dripping wet, and curled up together under the blankets, forming two little mounds. Samuel opened his eyes and suddenly asked, "Ezra, why did you flirt with me tonight? You don't have to try so hard to win me over. Even if I take over the Goo family, I'll still treat you well." "Why? Just wanted to have some fun before I leave. This Goo family is a den of wolves and tigers. Let whoever wants to stay, stay." I turned my head slightly and smiled back. Why say seduce like it's such a dirty word? Can't I just be into you? Besides, I only looked at you twice. Why did you come running in yourself? That's not my fault, is it? Samuel fell silent for a moment. Just when I thought he wasn't going to answer, he spoke. "Ezra, it's strange. From the very first time I saw you, I couldn't stop myself from wanting to get close." I watched him quietly, hearing his voice grow more and more puzzled. Almost unnervingly, my heart began to tremble. Just like the first time I brushed fingers with you that night. But then Samuel lightened up again. "So don't worry. I'll definitely be a good brother." "That's ridiculous." I gritted my teeth and shot back. "Not interested. I just hope you mean what you say. Get me out of here as soon as possible." The original character didn't last long in the book. I had to stay as far away from the Goo family as possible. Survival came first. Maybe true love at first sight really does exist. But when it comes to life, the latter takes priority. Samuel was keeping a close eye on me. I couldn't find a single chance to slip away for days on end. I stayed put, pretending I was perfectly content with the life of comfort and ease, just to lower Samuel's guard. Samuel was a man with endless duties. He couldn't possibly keep his full attention on me all the time. I seized the chance when he was away on a business trip, taking advantage of the relaxed watch to make my escape from the Goo family under cover of night. Only after I left did I truly understand the power of the original owner's universally disliked reputation. I couldn't find a job, and no one would rent me a place to live. In this world, it felt like everyone except Samuel held deep suspicion and hostility toward me. After many twists and turns, I ended up settling in a rundown dormitory building in the city center. I glanced at the tiny room, drafty, with peeling walls that were crumbling. Sighing, I pulled my suitcase inside. Suddenly, I realized this was a huge mistake. I might as well have lived like a rich man before dying. 3 days, 23 hours, and 5 minutes after I escaped, Samuel arrived without delay. He stood outside, his lower lip slightly downturned, a length of black rope in his right hand. My throat tightened as I hesitated, wondering whether to open the door or not. Samuel's voice came through the yellowed wooden door, cold and firm. "Ezra, open up. Otherwise, when I come in, it'll be too late for words." My hand on the doorknob trembled slightly. "Forget it. He's found me anyway." No use resisting. The door creaked open, and Samuel's weary, strained face came into view. I gave a nervous little smile, about to speak when Samuel stepped forward, grabbed my wrist, and pressed a quick kiss to it. "Just kidding, door or not, you're still tied." I tried to step back, but he pulled me forward instead, stammering, "Samuel, calm down. Please, let me explain." Samuel picked up the rope and wound it around both our wrists, then led me to sit on the small bed in the room. "Ezra, speak. Give me a reason I absolutely have to let you go." I slowly looked up, meeting Samuel's eyes, black as ink. It was almost like they were really waiting for an answer. I took a deep breath and said seriously, "Have you ever heard of crossing into a book?" I wasn't sure if Samuel would believe me, but I just had to say it. I laid everything out completely, no details left hidden. Samuel's expression shifted from relaxed at first to serious over time. When I reached the part about the original owner's final fate, he suddenly reached out and covered my mouth. "I'm here. You're not going to get hurt." I was a bit surprised. "You believe me just like that?" Samuel looked at me with deep intensity. "Why wouldn't I? Life truly comes before love. Still, Ezra, you didn't tell me you'd run off on your own like that. It hurt me so much." Samuel gently turned my face to look at him and asked, "Are you ever going to run away again?" "Ezra, talk to me." I nodded, my face resting against his palm. "I promise. I'll face everything with Samuel from now on. No matter what happens, I won't leave you." Samuel led me back home, just the two of us, our own little world, far away from the Gu family. He really seemed afraid of that bad ending I kept talking about, pushing off tons of work and spending nearly every day by my side. I gradually started to feel more at ease. Samuel and I didn't end up fighting like enemies to the death, and I didn't betray the Gu family's secrets out of jealousy. But as the days drew closer, the story's key events ended up happening almost exactly as written. In the quiet of night, Samuel held me tightly in his arms. I turned my back to him, too afraid to look into his eyes. Samuel, if I really did die, would you be sad? His hand on my waist trembled slightly, and he rested his chin on the crook of my neck, his voice catching a little. Don't say such nonsense. As long as I'm here, nothing's going to happen to you. I curled up tightly, pulling myself deeper into his embrace, like I wanted to sink right into him. Yeah, even if I die, don't be sad. I'll turn into a star and watch over you from the sky. Keep you safe. You might not even need it. Heroes are supposed to have everything go their way. Unlike the original owner and me, we're just the kind of disposable extras everyone hates, barely even deserving of life. This world is so frustrating, but I'm glad I have Samuel. My neck felt a little damp. Samuel might have been crying, repeating over and over, no way, I'll keep you safe, no matter the cost. I won't let anything happen to you. I noticed something was off with him, so I changed the subject and joked, it's fine, after all, I'm not the original owner. I might even go back if I die. When I find this book again, I'll make the author give you a cheat code. Turn you into the richest person in the world. Samuel mumbled back, what use would all that be if you're not even here anymore? I buried my head into his arm and tried desperately to memorize the scent of him. The unease was too strong. I couldn't even find a single comforting word to say. I just stayed silent. Treasure every second we still get to hold each other. On the 7th day before the original protagonist's demise, miracles didn't come to my aid. It was an ordinary sunny day with no warning at all. I collapsed without any sign. Samuel wordlessly picked me up and rushed me to the hospital. The cold fluids flowed into my veins, but they couldn't bring back even a spark of life. The doctor in the white coat kept sighing as he held the test results. We can't find any cause. Every organ is failing. At this rate, you won't make it through a week. Samuel rubbed his face hard. When he let go, his eyes were red and puffy, and his hands wouldn't stop trembling. He moved close and gently warmed my foretube with his hands. Baby, don't be afraid. If they can't help us here, we'll try somewhere else. If that doesn't work, we'll go overseas. There's a whole world out there. I'll find a way to save you, no matter what. I had no strength left in my body, but now that we've reached this point, I wasn't afraid anymore. I just couldn't bear to let go. If only I'd come here earlier. Even if I'm still going to die, maybe I could have met you sooner. My lips were pale, and I forced out a few words. If this kind of death's already happened, honestly, the world never meant for me to live. Samuel, take me home. Stay with me. Samuel froze in place, his heart turning cold. His blood felt like it had frozen solid. He couldn't say a word. I moved my fingers slightly, tugging gently at his sleeve. Then a hot tear fell straight onto me. I didn't dare look up. I couldn't bear to see. It would be too cruel to make him watch his lover die right before his eyes. But there was nothing I could do about it. According to the story's rules, the real and fake young masters were meant to fight to the death. The character of the real young master was just a forgettable tool needed for the main character's growth. I accidentally slipped into this world and stole a love that wasn't mine to have. But now that I've taken on the role of the real young master, I must face whatever fate comes with it. Samuel blinked quickly, hiding the sorrow in his eyes, then reached out to help me sit up straight. All right, let's go home. I drifted in a daze for several days. Sometimes I was awake. Sometimes I slipped back into sleep. Every time I opened my eyes, Samuel was always there. He'd pour me water, tuck the blanket in around me, leaning down to kiss my forehead. On the day the original owner died, there were still half an hour until midnight. My body was collapsing like a mountain crumbled under weight, but my mind was suddenly sharp, as if flashing back to life. Samuel sat beside me, eyes half closed, dark circles heavy under them. He hadn't slept in days just to stay by my side. I gave his hand a gentle squeeze, and he opened his eyes, forcing a light tone. Sweetheart, you're awake. Did something hurt? I shook my head. No, it's just... I wanted to see you more. Samuel, I want you to make me soft-boiled eggs and glutinous rice balls in rice wine for breakfast tomorrow. I want to eat them the very instant I wake up. Okay? Samuel's gaze stayed locked on my face, while his other hand gently patted the back of my hand in comfort. Ezra, what else do you want right now? Want to meet your parents? The Gu family's parents? Forget it. Don't know them at all. In this world, the only person I care about is right here in front of me. I said quietly, no, just seeing you is enough. Samuel, could you kiss me again? I'm a little scared. Really scared. Samuel pressed his forehead against mine, one hand gently stroking my cheek. Hot tears mixed together, impossible to tell whose were whose. My heart ached so badly. Just thinking about never seeing you again made me terrified. Samuel's kiss was so gentle, like I was a fragile porcelain doll, filled with care and tenderness. Baby, don't be afraid. When you open your eyes again, nothing will have happened. Sweetheart, it's okay. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Just think of it as a dream you had. Samuel quietly watched the life fade from the person in his arms. Ezra's long, thick eyelashes lay gently down, as if he were simply asleep. Samuel clutched the body tightly to his chest, soaking in the last traces of warmth. Suddenly, there was nothing in his arms. Tiny specks of light drifted upward into the air. His arms were completely empty now. Samuel collapsed onto the floor, all his strength draining away in an instant. The agony of sorrow was so deep it felt like drowning. He couldn't breathe, couldn't draw a single gasp. His heart ached as if it would break with him. How am I supposed to accept this? No matter how many times we start over, no matter how hard I try, I can only watch you die. The only way to save you was letting go. The chandelier above flickered. Time froze for a single heartbeat. A small, translucent white orb floated down in front of Samuel. Samuel, I've already sent Ezra back. He'll be happy in another world. No early death, no one despising him. Now it's your turn to keep your promise and finish the story's ending. Samuel fought hard to keep his voice steady, but when he lifted his face, only a hollow despair remained. Next life, then? We've already met in this lifetime. How am I supposed to forget him? The little orb flickered. You said the same thing last time. Memories only reset at the moment of death, and you still have decades before that day. Are you sure? Samuel let out a bitter smile. Do you even care about how I feel? The orb vanished with a sharp snap, leaving only cold words behind. As the world's consciousness, it's my duty to remind you. Keep your promise. You've already wasted too much time on that disposable character. He's awake. Doctor. The patient is awake. A blurry white figure was wavering in front of me. I lay there with my upper body limp, leaning weakly against the pillow, quietly listening to the doctor's chatter. Ezra, what did you see this time? The person before me was my longtime attending physician. Before entering the book, my condition worsened. I thought I saw a real person and panicked, accidentally knocking my head against the table. I lost consciousness, only to wake up in another body. Reality, illusion. Which world do I really belong to? I sat there dazed, tears rolling down my face without even noticing. Doctor, the person who's always in my head. Maybe he was real. I think I actually saw him. Doctor adjusted his glasses and let out a soft sigh. Ezra, this is the first time in 3 years of coming to see me that you've mentioned someone who's been stuck in your mind. All those symptoms you've been having, that person is what's causing it. But you collapsed for 3 days and suddenly said you saw him. Ezra, we need to face reality. That person doesn't exist. Just treat it like a dream and let it go. My foggy thoughts cleared all at once, each word spoken with absolute certainty. No, that wasn't a dream. Dreams don't leave you with a heartache like this. It wasn't a dream. That was my truth. I threw myself out of bed, ignoring the dizziness swirling through me, stumbling toward the door. That book. I have to find that book. I searched for a long time and finally found the book, turned to the last page, only to find it completely blank. No author's name at all. No ending? Why is there no ending? My head ached with sharp waves of pain, and the figure that had haunted me for 3 years flashed through my mind like scenes from a movie. Samuel. That person was Samuel. We've met before. Definitely. A cold sweat broke out across my forehead, my fingers trembling as I flipped open the book again. This time, a glowing orb shot straight from the pages and hovered above my head. In an instant, the falling leaves outside froze midair. Its voice was icy and sharp, laced with disdain and arrogance. You're all too obsessed. Samuel has reincarnated again and again just to change your ending. But does it even matter? The story's key moments can't be changed. Those who are meant to part should part. This is the best outcome now. Since you've already come out, don't try to interfere with the book's ending anymore. Maybe you should remember it all. Then you'll understand that some things are beyond your reach for a lifetime. I dug my nails into my palm, using the pain to steady myself, and finally spoke the long-hidden suspicion in my heart. I'm Ezra from the book, aren't I? The little glowing orb wobbled up and down, teasing, "What do you think?" Fragments of color streamed into my mind, turning the scattered black shadows from before into vivid images. I pulled at my lips and let out a quiet scoff. Thanks. Now I remember everything, but there's one thing you got wrong. Whether it can be changed isn't up to you. The last time I came back was because I lost consciousness unintentionally in this world. I could only keep one identity. So the real way to return to that world. I reached into the cabinet and pulled out the small knife. What would happen next? I can't tell. Honestly, I just don't know. But Samuel, you're the one I'd give up my life to see again. Luck finally smiled on me, just once. I made it back to Samuel's house and sat on the bed where I'd sat before. Maybe it was because my character had died in the book. I flickered on and off like a faulty incandescent bulb. I stared at the wall clock. 3 months had passed since the day I died. I kicked my legs and counted on my fingers, waiting for Samuel to get home from work. After all, I wasn't exactly alive. I couldn't just show up unannounced. No lights were on. The room swallowed in darkness. Samuel still hadn't come home, back to being a workaholic again. At 3 in the morning, I heard the soft click of the smart lock, then bolted to hide behind the door. I just wanted to give him a scare, but the instant I saw him, my expression froze solid. Samuel's back was hunched, all of his old fire gone. His hair had grown long enough to block his view. When he lifted his head, the thick web of red veins in his eyes made my heart lurch. I stepped forward numbly, almost choking back tears. Samuel! What happened to you? Samuel's eyes, lifeless just a moment ago, suddenly lit up. He took a few steps forward, then hesitated, stepping back as if stunned. Ezra? Is it really you? Am I dreaming? Or is this real? I forced out a smile that looked even worse than crying. I'm back. Your Ezra's back. For 2 seconds, we just stood frozen, then suddenly snapped into action and pulled each other close. I gently tucked Samuel's hair behind his ear and looked at him fully. Let me ask you again. Have we actually met before? Samuel clung to me tightly, his eyes shut, a mix of helplessness and despair in his voice. Met? I've known you for years. The tears in my eyes finally spilled over. I missed you so much. I missed you so much. I thought he was just a fake young master, but he turned out to be my true love. Exactly. We've done more than just met before. The first real meeting. We were supposed to be like those stories. Forever at odds, constantly looking for reasons to clash. But it didn't happen. In this household full of sharp teeth and ruthless players, we actually became decent friends. Samuel is the only person in the world who never gives me trouble without reason. Wanting to get close to him, to be near him, well, that's completely natural. Slowly, I realized Samuel wasn't living the life I thought he was. It wasn't nearly as glamorous as it seemed. The Gu family used to adopt many children, raising them like cultivating a poisonous insect, shaping one that perfectly fed their need for control. Well-behaved, obedient, exceptionally talented. The Gu family's den was just a quick background mission in the protagonist's story, brushed over in passing. But for someone living it, that shadow lasted through their entire childhood. 2 broken souls. To everyone else, they were opposing rivals, the real and fake young masters. Yet behind closed doors, they held hands, kissed, and fell in love. They warmed each other's hearts and filled the missing pieces inside their souls. But then I ended up dying, not killed on some distant battlefield, but captured and retaliated against by the Gu family's enemies, who believed only the real heir could truly hurt them. My parents never came to save me. The only one who did was Samuel. Pawn is just a pawn. No hero's luck to protect it. I lay in Samuel's arms, blood spilling from my mouth. Samuel, I wish I'd never met you. After I'm gone, how will your long life go on? Samuel pressed his hand hard against the blood-soaked wound in my belly. It'll be all right. Nothing's going to happen. Ezra, hang on a little longer. Please? Just wait. The doctor is almost here. Please? Stay alive. Stay with me. A beautiful dream, built on nothing, costing a lifetime of regret. I mumbled, "When did you remember it?" Samuel's eyes filled with deep sorrow as he replied, "The moment you said you'd traveled into the book. Baby, don't blame me. I was too afraid to tell you. I'd rather you believed you came from another world and forgot everything about the past. This world hasn't been kind to you, and I didn't want you to stay here." He'd remembered so much earlier than I thought, but he never said a word. I can't blame him, though. He's suffered more than I have. I rested my head against his chest, listening to the steady, strong beat of his heart, holding back tears. But Samuel, I haven't been okay at all. Without you, there's no real world for me. Even without my memories, I've never forgotten you. Brother, don't leave me behind. Don't let me lose sight of you again. It's fine if people hate me, even if I die. As long as I can see you, doesn't matter. We lay side by side, pressed so closely together there was no space between us. Reuniting felt too precious to waste a single moment. Every second felt too valuable to miss. Samuel let out the faintest sigh, his lips brushing against my earlobe. Then we won't be apart. Stay alive, and we stay together. If you're gone, I'll wait for you. What kind of rubbish ending is that? Go to hell. I couldn't help but laugh, slipping my fading hand under the blanket, my heart aching with sorrow. I'm sorry, leaving you alone for so long. At the end of the book, the main character was 38. The story's turning point can't be changed. Until then, he had no choice but to keep living alone. Samuel reached out and gently pinched my cheek. Don't say sorry. I'm willing to do it, as long as we can meet again. Even if I get trapped in the loop of this story over and over, it's still worth it. After staying at the orphanage until I turned 18, the place was on the verge of shutting down. I dropped out of school and started going around with local troublemakers collecting protection money. I was just never someone people naturally liked. No other jobs would take me on. One day, someone found me and said I was the lost true heir of the Gu family. As long as I went back with them, I'd have more money than I could ever spend. I didn't hesitate. I got into that luxury car that looked way too expensive to be anything but fancy. Who cares? No matter how bad things get, they can't possibly be worse than this. I stepped into the elegant Chinese-style hall, where a tall figure stood with their back to me. I hesitated before stepping forward, and just as I was about to reach him, he turned around. My brow curled slightly. Familiar, too familiar. Have we met before? Samuel looked at me, paused for a moment, then gently cupped the back of my head and kissed me. Ezra. It's been so long. What are you doing? I started struggling at first, but slowly gave in. Familiar yet strange memories. Mine and his were meeting again. This time, I guess we got lucky. Recognized each other right away. I went with the flow and kissed him back. Goodbye, happiness. Winter comes around again and again. Those meant to meet will always find each other. Epilogue. 2 little glowing orbs, one white, one yellow, drifted in the sky, watching below. The white orb was furious. You're the one who made Ezra remember. I can't believe it. Why do they always end up together again? The yellow orb pouted. Yeah, whatever. The outcome's the same either way. Less hassle. By the way, don't send anyone to me this time. Wouldn't it be a pain if they ran back here again? You know, you're being kind of old-fashioned. Just turn it into a romance story already. Honestly, no matter how many times we try, the result will never change. The white orb gritted its teeth. Why don't you fix your own world instead? The yellow orb crossed its arms. My protagonist isn't even rebellious. And wasn't it you who said before that the characters were too stiff? That we should pick 2 at random and let them improvise. See what happens. You changed the original plot yourself. You have to live with it now. I think those 2 are truly in love. Just stop breaking up a happy couple. If you can't handle it, then just deal with it. The white orb stomped hard and turned away, muttering, I'm done with this mess. I'm done dealing with this mess. Let them do whatever they want. Yellow ball caught up and rubbed his back. You're tough on the outside but soft inside. Admit it. You were moved by their love too. It's fine. Whatever punishment comes, I'll take it with you. After all, we're partners. Get lost.